I'm surprised anyone could escape from here.
Now at 6, step up security or pay the price. The new ultimatum for the Oregon hospital at the center of a dramatic fugitive escape.
You have more options to pursue, which we believe also reduces the risk.
Pursuing Portland crime, the new crackdown coming from police in the Rose City. And is it actually finally happening? The big step toward a new I-5 bridge. Thanks for joining us. I'm Brittany Folkers. And we begin with the Oregon State Hospital at risk of losing federal funding. That's if it does not improve its security measures. The Oregon Health Authority says the hospital has until next week to submit those proposed improvements. Ashley Grahams joins us in studio. And Ashley, you read through the report, nearly 100 pages detailing issues at the hospital.
Yeah, I did, Brittany, and right now the state hospital stands to lose about $14 million if they don't increase security. That federal funding is less than 5% of the hospital's annual budget, but they're still trying to avoid the loss. Take a look at what prompted the investigation.
This is the man that escaped from the Oregon State Hospital in August. His name is Christopher Prey, and he's charged with attempted murder, robbery, and assault. 2 days after the escape, Prey was found. Firefighters pulled him from this muddy pond in North Portland. His time on the run prompted an investigation. The Centers for Medicare and Medicaid released this report detailing their findings. They say the hospital could lose funding in March if they don't increase security, particularly when it comes to transporting patients. The report says the hospital failed to, quote, develop and implement clearly written, effective policies, procedures, and staff training that ensured patient safety and security and safety of others. It also reveals more about Prey's escape.
I'm surprised anyone could escape from here.
They found that the 2 staff members transporting Prey, who had shackles on his legs, a belly chain, and handcuffs, stepped out of the car and left the keys in the ignition. That's when Prey unbuckled himself, jumped in the front seat, and took off, driving over 100 miles an hour. Hospital staff later said that when it comes to managing car keys, they, quote, don't have a procedure or protocol for that. The Oregon State Hospital has until December 21st to submit a plan detailing their efforts to correct security issues. In a statement, the OSH superintendent said, quote, we are taking immediate measures to ensure we meet the CMS requirements and continue to keep patients, staff, and the public safe and secure.
Well, it wasn't always up to hospital staff to transport patients like Christopher Prey. In the past, law enforcement in Marion County would handle the transport, but that contract ended in 2022 after the sheriff's office said they were too short-staffed. Brittany?
All right, Ashley, thank you. Let's get to some of your other headlines now. Significant new federal funding is heading to Washington State for the Interstate Bridge Replacement Project. The Department of Transportation is awarding $600 million. The bridge project received one of 11 grants awarded to infrastructure projects across the country. This marks the first time the federal government has committed serious money for a new bridge. The entire replacement is expected to cost somewhere around $5 to $7 billion. One person in southern Oregon is dead in a police shooting today. It happened in Josephine County while officers were searching for a homicide suspect. They say the suspect then led them on a chase. At some point, officers from Oregon State Police, Grants Pass Police, and the Josephine County Sheriff's Office all fired their weapons. The suspect, 48-year-old Kelly Mason, was killed. One officer was injured but should survive. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office is now leading the investigation. A controversial homeless shelter in Northwest Portland could close by the start of the new year. It's now up to the city of Portland to take over the River District Navigation Center. This after the group heading the shelter is backing out after concerns over how it was being run. The city is now quickly working to keep the site open. Otherwise, about 100 people would end up back on the streets.
They have to have shelter somewhere for people, and nobody wants it. And everyone's saying, like, not in my backyard. Well, people have to go somewhere, and they have to start somewhere.
Coming up tonight at 6:30 on The Story, Blair Best talks with concerned neighbors and the shelter owner about what led up to all of this. Meantime, in Vancouver today, the city opened its 4th Safe Stay community. It's just off Main and 45th. The nonprofit Do Good Multnomah will manage the community. It'll have 20 pods and house up to 40 people. They'll have access to mental health services and showers. Camping also will not be allowed within 1,000 feet of the site. Residents are expected to start moving in on Monday. Former Portland City Commissioner Steve Novick announced today that he's running for Portland City Council. He's seeking to represent District 3. Novick served as city commissioner from 2013 to 2017, but lost his re-election bid to Chloe Daly. After the loss, he took a position as an attorney for the Oregon Department of Justice.
Well, in case you missed it, department, look at the sunrise this morning. This from Hillsborough, Hiker Girl 77 sending in this picture. Just outstanding. And you know what? We have a chance of similar scenes again tomorrow morning because we'll have similar scattered high clouds like this that are perfectly situated to light up the sky. So give a look. Sunrise tomorrow morning, and you may be in for a treat. We had a great sunset as well. Low clouds, though, in the southern and central Willamette Valley and east of the Cascades will preclude you from having much of a view of the sunrise. Need to be away from that. And for that, we've got the east winds in the Portland area will keep us from having fog and low clouds here in town. Same thing over at the Oregon coast. We've got air stagnation advisories north and south of Portland because of no wind there, and the air is becoming exactly that, stagnant with a lack of wind. So tomorrow morning, some areas of fog mainly south and west of downtown, but then becoming partly sunny. A little bit cooler tomorrow. We got a dry weekend ahead. The east winds are weakening, and rain Monday. More on that in a bit. Brett, back to you.
All right, Matt, thanks so much. This afternoon, Portland police announced that they'll be loosening restrictions on the Bureau's car chase policy. This change is coming after an increase in dangerous driving. Soon, they'll give patrol officers more power to decide when to go after a suspect. Let's go live now to Alma McCarty, who spoke today to the police chief about the reason for this change. Alma.
Hi, Brittany. Chief Bob Day says the Bureau is broadening an officer's ability to initiate a chase, and they're doing this to ultimately, he says, cut down on crime. He says police will need to consider the exact same factors that they do now when going about that, from the location of said chase to the speed to the suspect's criminal charges, and weigh that against the risks or potential risks to the community before they go about going with this chase. Under current policy, officers could only pursue suspects for felony person crimes or in extraordinary circumstances. In 30 days, the new policy will allow them to go after suspects accused of lower level felonies, and the chief believes that will make a difference.
But we will, as I said, do careful evaluation of every event and weigh, the effectiveness. Are we able to, see a decrease in the number of stolen cars or successful, burglary arrests, or things, maybe, a decrease in speed racing because they know that there's some intentionality now behind our actions that we didn't have before, or that we have some authority that we didn't have before.
He says the chase policy will mainly apply to missions like when teams of officers go after stolen vehicles. PPB stressed, like the current policy, officers must stop or terminate a pursuit when the safety risks clearly outweigh the benefit of capturing the suspect.
We're definitely going to be keeping our eye on the ball on this to make sure that we're meeting the standards and the goals that we have, which is to really continue to increase our effort around reducing crime and the fear of crime.
Now, the Bureau is going to review this new policy in at least a year. Again, it takes effect around mid-January. We will have a link to that up on KGW.com. For now, live in downtown Portland, Alma McCarty, KGW News.
Alma, thanks for the update. Several dozen employees have been laid off recently from the City of Portland's Bureau of Development Services, which oversees building permits and inspections. It comes as construction is tapered off citywide. Thomas Schultz joins us now. So Thomas, we're talking about a lot of people here losing their jobs pretty quickly.
Well, Brittany, we're talking about 72 jobs cut since October. Now, a spokesperson for the department says they did it because there's not much construction happening citywide. Unlike other city departments, the Bureau of Development Services relies on permitting fees to sustain itself.
Our workload is down. There is less permit activity coming in the door right now.
Over the past couple of weeks, around 15% of the Portland Bureau of Development Services staff was notified they'd be laid off at the beginning of next year. 56 employees overall. And from October of 2022 to this past October, the construction industry lost 300 Multnomah County workers. With little new construction citywide, there's worries there won't be many new apartments, office space, or other buildings in need of permits and inspections for more than a year.
We did not anticipate, and I don't know anyone who did anticipate quite the drop-off in permit activity that we saw over the summer.
Ken Ray, the spokesperson for the Bureau of Development Services, says 98% of the Bureau's revenue comes from permitting and land use review fees. Though with little permitting, the Bureau is losing money quickly. From July to October, the department lost almost $3 million monthly. Without cuts, Ray says they would have run out of money next year.
We're going to be watching our expenditures very closely through the rest of this fiscal year.
Others say the layoffs are an early indicator of a citywide economic downturn they expect to last 18 months.
It's a challenge.
Mike Wilkerson is an economist with Eco Northwest. He says data this quarter shows the fewest amount of permits for new apartments since the first quarter of the pandemic.
Yeah, it's not, I would say, ideal.
And with fewer staff and fewer inspectors, there's concerns it could take longer for developers to get new buildings permitted and inspected.
You hear frequently that the time for permitting, the processes could be sped up, but I think when you have a bureau that's reliant entirely on fees, that's really challenging to do that.
Now, I asked too if the Department of Services believes these cuts are sufficient to keep the department afloat. A spokesperson says BDS believes it's taken the steps needed to sustain itself for the next several months. Now, the hope is interest rates will start to come down soon, leading to a revitalized construction industry. Brittany?
Thomas, thank you.